It's January 6, 2023. I'm Suni Danforth. I live in Northeast Oregon. And so, welcome to Captive Audience. And we've got a few things to cover tonight. I'll tell you, today is January 6th. And a year ago, 2 years ago, we had hi, Lori. It's good to see you. Well, I'm not going to start with that. Well, yeah, I will. So remembering January 6th, we had the so-called insurrection. Well, it wasn't. There was a rally, and at the rally, there were a lot of people. But truly, what happened, in my opinion, it wasn't an insurrection. No, it was more of a false flag, quite frankly, of things that went on there. And let us not forget, Ashley Babbitt was murdered there. Roseanne Boyland was trampled, and in fact, I've just posted a story that talks about to remember the two of them, and also the January 6th political prisoners. And this story is out of PJ Media. Today is quite a significant day for America because of the sham of a trial. Trials, normally you have two sides, right? Well, it wasn't a trial. It was a show for the sheep that are not awake in America. It really was. There are a lot of people in our country that watch other different types of media, mainstream media, and mainstream media, of course, doesn't cover the truths of what has happened and what is happening in our country, for that matter. And so there's things that have. So it's important for us to remember about what went on and the political prisoners that are being held that are in just awful conditions. In fact, this is from the article. So Spencer, this is Robert Spencer, PJ Media. Robert Spencer reported in October that 34 of the January 6 prisoners held in inhumane conditions petitioned to be transferred to Guantanamo Bay because they were treated worse than the terrorists. And these are American citizens that many just went into a building. They were, in fact, invited. I've seen the videos of the police waving their arm, come on in, come on in. So it's interesting to see both sides, see what the Democrats would like you to see, and what the truth is, and what really happened. Was there violence? Yes, there was. Was it instigated by the patriotic conservatives? No, I don't believe it was. Personally, I don't. So there's many of the prisoners have not had any hearings. They've been denied access to their lawyers. They've had no visitations, no religious services, no attorney access, mail delayed 3 to 4 months for delivery. And these are citizens of our country. These are Americans. The people that are crossing our border to the south are treated better than the people that are in jail from January 6th. And that is unconscionable. Absolutely unconscionable. So, with that, in case you hadn't heard, Ashley Babbitt's mother was arrested today outside the U.S. Capitol, and she was arrested on charges while I was having dinner earlier. They on Newsmax. They had her on, and she said that basically for violating two traffic regulations, failure to obey an order and blocking and obstructing a roadway. She's been released, and because she was carrying an American flag at the U.S. Capitol, and she could not get to where there was a sidewalk, so she was in the road. And I can tell you from being in Washington, D.C., that the Black Lives Matter and the Antifas there are not getting treated like this. I've been there during when there was quite a bit of action from Black Lives Matter, and the police were not doing anything to push back on them whatsoever. So here you have, on the 2-year anniversary, Mickey Whithoft, Ashley Babbitt's mom, getting arrested and in Washington, D.C. And I was not aware of this until tonight, that she and many others have been holding daily. She's been since August in the Capitol, outside of the jail where the January 6th prisoners are. And every night at 9 o'clock, they sing the national anthem, and they are holding a vigil for the American citizens that are held unlawfully in jail. And I had no idea that she was doing that until this evening, watching that. So it's jaywalking. Yeah, and we should be pissed off about it. I'm pissed off about it. This is not acceptable. It truly, truly isn't. So that wasn't going to be my opener tonight, but it turned into, because today it is January 6th. And yes, the whole thing is outrageous. It's damn outrageous. What is taking place in the freest nation in the world? We're supposed to be the freest nation in the world. And we're losing our freedoms quite rapidly. Is there a GoFundMe? I don't know for the prisoners, but I would not use GoFundMe for anything. I would use Give, Send, Go. Seems to be that's the best thing for conservatives to use, is Give, Send, Go. If somebody else has another idea out there, then just post it in comments. So something else I wanted to, talk about. It's a big deal that we still don't have a speaker. And so we don't have a Speaker of the House. I'm posting a story from the Epoch Times. And so they've had 13 votes. And Kevin McCarthy hasn't got it. But I will say Kevin McCarthy on the 13th vote picked up 14 more votes. And so they've recessed until 7 o'clock our time, Pacific time, 10 o'clock East time, and have another vote. So after captive audience is over, I will be looking to see how the vote goes. It's been interesting to watch the process, to see the process, to hear from some people that are talking about this, that are there, not just talking heads suppositioning, what could be happening. So some of those that are there talking about it, and I just posted another story. So some of the things that are Rep. Scott Perry says, we're at a turning point. I've negotiated in good faith with one purpose to restore the people's house back to its rightful owners. The framework for an agreement is in place. So, in a good faith effort, I voted to restore the people's house by voting for GOP leader McCarthy. Well, in listening to quite a bit of news the last couple of days only regarding this, that basically, when Pelosi was the speaker, six people was making the decisions for all of those representatives there. So then it is not the people's house; it is six people's house. So there's been a holdout. Yes, we all want the business to take place and get going. But the more I've learned about this, the more I've thought about this, there's I get what they're doing. So some of the things that the Freedom Caucus has been asking for is um, a motion, the ability to have a motion, Jeffersonian motion to vacate the chair. This allows a single person to make the motion to remove the speaker if he goes back on his word or policy agenda. And this group of 20 had wanted everything in writing. They had a list of what was in writing. So now it's been put in writing. And they would like church style committees. And I've got a screen grab I saved here that I'm reading from. Church style committees, this allows them to look into the weaponization of organizations like the FBI against the American people. A term limit vote. They would like a term limit vote to come to the floor, the House, so that it can be voted on. Single subject bills. Quite frankly, I'm for that. I'm for single subject bills. We don't need things like the omnibus bill. And they can't be loaded with irrelevant nonsense. I like that. Let's just leave the pork somewhere else. Let's use the people's money that we don't have. You know what I mean? Let's use it wisely. Also, Texas border plan, a budget that stops an increase in the debt ceiling and holds the Senate accountable. Ending emergency funding and all COVID mandates and funding, and 72 hours to read a bill. Who wouldn't want that? Quite frankly, who wouldn't want that? So I don't see that it's a real bad thing that this is. Let's get these rules in place. Let's get this so that the power of the House is spread amongst more people instead of just a few. Let's put the power back in the House and to the people. And so I like that. I like that. So let's see. Lori said that Chip and Lori both gave good interviews today about this matter, and I think they're worth a listen. So yeah, both of them are in that, and I think this is good for America. I think it's good for the people. So tonight I heard, and we'll see what happens, that Kevin McCarthy they had to call a couple of people in. Depends on how many people are in the House, if he needs 217 or 218. But it sounds like they're going to reconvene at 7:00 our time on Pacific time and have a vote again. And maybe since the concessions they've got it all in writing, that the House will be turned back to the people. And, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for America, and it's a good for us. And, we don't have kings in our country. And there are many that would like to think that they are kings or queens. And that's not how we are. We are so it is, I just think this is really great to to turning the house back to us. And for those that aren't aware, I was doing a little digging. This has happened before. We've had a lot of times in our history, the history of our nation, that we've had to go on for many, many, many votes. I was looked it up yesterday. I didn't grab a screenshot. I should have, so that I could give you those numbers, because it's actually quite a bit. So tonight, I hope, yeah, like Queen Nancy. That's exactly right. Yeah, I'll tell you. You know what? And she ruled with an iron fist, and with the sheep, the Democrats. I really think, I won't say the Democrats are sheep, but they have more of the Muba syndrome, I'll call it. And I guess that's why I said sheep. But a lot of sheep are people that go along, that will there have a more of a herding mentality, and where the Republicans tend to not have that herding mentality. It's like herding cats. That's what's so difficult. And this is going to be a very difficult job for Kevin McCarthy, um, because of the independents. But that is the makeup of us conservatives. We are independent thinkers, and we don't just go along always. People go, oh, just go along and get along. Well, that's just not what this is about. And so we'll see what happens. And I don't know anyway. So we're going to find out what happens tonight. Maybe we will have a speaker, and then we start next week getting to work. Or they start on Saturday. I have no idea. I have no idea. But we'll see about that. So those two stories there. Then, something that you may not be aware of is here's an article from in the Epoch Times, and it's about the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, and body cams on the politicians. I don't know. You know what? What are we going to do with all that damn data? What are we going to do with all that data? I've got something on data too here, but on the CCP, after all of this, this story is with Gordon Chang. He's truly a expert on China and what's going on over there. He's written a great book, and he's the author. He's with so there's let's see, the coming collapse of China, but I've interviewed him. I really, really enjoyed that. But what he's talking about, in China, they've had this no COVID policy, absolute shutdown, right? Well, now because of what's the protests over there, they've relaxed that. Well, even when they relaxed it, they were having an outbreak. It's just goes on. But the people there, I think, are going to be much more susceptible to the outbreaks, because when you're in isolation, your immune system just is not strong. You have to be exposed to things to keep your immune system strong. I'm not a doctor, but I've certainly read a lot. And so, and it stands to reason. It's really kind of common sense. I know a lot of people don't follow common sense too much these days, but it is. And well, now China is going, okay, it's okay to just fly anywhere you want. So even when I heard that, and I talked with David, and I were talking about it last week, and he goes, I don't know that China's having all of these outbreaks. Well, it's true, they are. So I wonder, is this a new virus that they would like to spread around the world? That part I don't know. I don't have that answer, but that's where my mind went because China is not our friend. We've got this from, I believe, China. That's my opinion. And from things that I've read, I'm not the only one. Lord knows it's been proved. I do believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this has come from the Wuhan lab. But so the so Gordon Chang is talking in here that China is battling with a massive outbreak that has yet to peak. And the World Health Organization is appealing for transparency. But China's officials are not giving that transparency. They never have, and I'm sure they never will. So apparently, 18% of the country's population were estimated to have the virus between December 1st and December 20th. Yeah, just a month ago. Okay. According to a memo and from the health regulators' internal meeting that was leaked online and confirmed by some news outlets, but we don't know if we can trust the news outlets. There's a lot of trust issues with a lot of sources these days. But it is so now the United States and over a dozen nations are requiring a negative COVID test from visitors coming from China. And yet China is pushing back, going, oh, no, you don't need to do that. Well, wait a minute. Why not? Why not? What's going on over there? Quite frankly, I don't. Is China doing this again, spreading whatever's going on over there? Has a different virus come out of the lab? We don't know because China is not being transparent with this. And and as Don and I talked about back when COVID first came, we never quarantined healthy people before, ever, ever, ever. And we need to not do that either again. We don't need to shut down anything. And Laura, you're right. They killed our trust. You're absolutely right. In so many levels. I'm just switch back so I could, because I was looking at the story there and switch back to, I can see the comments. And yeah, trust is gone in a lot of ways. And so in a lot of areas that affects a lot of us. And do you trust the media? Do you trust your doctor? Do you? I certainly don't trust CCP, but at all. And so, what's coming? I don't know. But this is a good read, and I really pay attention to Gordon Chang because he has his finger on the pulse of what's going on in China, and so there is going to be a let me see, a premiere from America Thought Leaders tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern time. So that would be 4:30 our time. And so there's a link in here to the premiere that you can click on that and learn about that. It's going to be on Epic TV. And I think that would probably be worth watching with Gordon Chang on here. He's very, very knowledgeable. And so they're saying that, let's see, a little bit more on this. A little bit more. So apparently, we're just going to have to see. I'm not going to go into this anymore. Read the story, watch Epic TV, and see. Listen to Gordon Chang. Let's see what he says about this. It will be interesting, for sure. For sure. Hey, listen, there's a lot going on with the Twitter files and social media. Okay, you can't trust social media either, talking about, trust issues and whatnot. And so here is something that I ran across today, and this is from PJ Media. And the EU, the European Union, just shivved Facebook. And I can't stop smiling. So Stephen Green has written this article. And to give you a little backstory, the EU has said to Facebook that the people that use Facebook, they own their intellectual properties. They own their data. Okay. Facebook doesn't own their data. And I really wish that the United States would adopt this type of rules for all of the social medias, because you know what? It is ours. It's ours, our data. And why not empower people to make money if people want that data? So, you know what? Everybody could get a little bit of change, a little pocket money, to sell your data if you want to some media group or what have you. So in this article, the EU just slapped Facebook parent company Meta with nearly $500 million fine. But that's the least of the company's worries in Europe. Mark Zuckerberg's data hoovering social media colossus will have to write the EU a $413 million check for violating user privacy in EU member countries. For a company that made nearly $40 billion in 2021 alone. So see, all of our data is worth something because companies are buying it from him. Even as large as that, which Meta will certainly contest, won't force the company to change its ways. So, most significantly, reports France 24, European regulators dismissed the legal basis Meta had used to justify gathering users' personal data for use in targeting advertising. And so what that means is Meta will no longer be allowed to use its data hoovering techniques to target high-priced ads at Europe's 400 plus million Facebook users. Instead, the company will eventually have to rely on less targeted ads that generate less revenue. And so hooray for the European Union. We need to have this type of they need to have this type of regulations here in the United States across all of the platforms, and that we can opt in, not that we have to opt in or whatever. If they want our data, then we have to opt in instead of having to opt out. They always make it that we have to opt out of stuff. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention if you didn't know. And anytime, I just wish that we could be in charge of our own data. I try to lock down, and I try to, in the social medias that I use, I try to lock things down as much as possible. But with any searches that you do on your computer or on your phone, and then, for example, my phone said to do an update. Well, then I use voice to text. It said, oh, but now I have to turn on this and turn on that. And because that app has to have access to all my stuff. I just said no. I don't have to give that access for the convenience. Just say no. Don't have to do it. But there's those that think, oh yeah, gosh, I'm going to have to do that. No, you don't. Okay, well, listen, I've got a little bit of good news here, and I've just got a couple of things. I'm going to move a little bit quickly. We've got out of the Oregon Catalyst is in the Oregon actually ended up being the nation's #1 voter turnout, led by the GOP. Hooray. Well, so I think that's great. We were a half a point over Maine. If voters turnout by our state was 61.5%. Now, before you start screaming, oh, that's horrible. So we were a 0.05% above Maine. Now, it's the based on total turnout as measured by Senate district return. Now, the thing then it says, okay, Republicans turned out 82.8%, and the Democrats were 78.5%. But this is where it gets a little tricky. And then it goes on. I'll just read it to you. 69.9% for independent, 61% for libertarian, 61% for Constitution. Realize those have really low voter registration numbers in them, and 44.5% of non-affiliated voters. Non-affiliated voters don't vote. And in my county, then it has the top 3 counties turnout: Wheeler, Benton, and Grant at 79.4%, 76, and 75 respectively. Now, Umatilla County, where I live, is always at the bottom of the barrel. But we have like 20,000 unaffiliated voters in Umatilla County, 12,000 of those, so over 50%, okay, do not vote. So their number always brings our voter turnout number down. But our Republicans turned out. We turned out way better than the Democrats in Umatilla County. And we had the higher voter turnout for Republicans than we did 4 years ago, trying to measure midterm to midterm to see how we're doing. But it takes effort and it takes a lot of work to try to help, try to entice people to get that ballot in. I mean, it's like, come on, people, you've got to vote. And I only want the conservatives to vote. I don't want the Democrats to vote. So you know what? Here we go. Hey, Oregon, the nation's number one voter turnout. Do I like mail-in voting? No. In fact, I don't encourage anybody to mail their ballot at all. Put it in a drop box or take it to your county elections office and turn it in. So ballot harvesting is legal in this state, so we can do that. Now, but to get away from voting, just to keep moving on here, our Oregon House GOP has announced its 2023 caucus team, and the House Republican leader is Vicky Breeze Iverson out of Prineville. And so she announced the leadership team as the caucus heads into the 2023 session, and which is going to be starting, I'm not sure exactly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even said that. But so we have Shelley Beauchart Davis is the deputy House Republican deputy leader. E. Werner Reschke is the House Republican whip, and Kim Wallen is the deputy whip, and Lily Morgan is another deputy whip. Rick Lewis is assistant leader, and David Brock Smith is an assisted leader. And so, hey, in Oregon, our House GOP has got their team together, and hopefully tonight we will have a Speaker of the House. Now, I've got some other very good news. On Wednesday, Dawn and I talked about Damar Hamlin, and he's the football player for the Buffalo Bills, and he is actually making progress. So there is so much power in prayer. And remember, on Wednesday, if you watched our program Wednesday, we talked about, hey, you know what? They all knelt on the field. And so it's really great. He's got his tube out, and it's sounding like from reports that he is neurologically intact. And he had even asked the doctor by writing, because he couldn't speak because his breathing tube, did we win? And the doctor said, yeah, you won at the game of life. So I really like that. You won at the game of life, and he did. He's very, very lucky. So he's got a long ways to go, but he is making progress. So now the tube is out. He's breathing on his own. And so this is really good. He had a little call with the team, FaceTimed with the team and the coaches and the players and all that, and made the little heart symbol, and so that's great news. Where prayers go out to Damar and on a great recovery. So hey everybody, thank you for joining me tonight. David couldn't be here tonight, and that's okay. I decided to fly solo. And I know I'm amongst friends here, and we'll be back on Monday. And we've got hey, maybe tonight we're going to get a Speaker of the House. I hope we do, but I'm very happy with the what the 20 Freedom Caucus held out for, to get that going, and to get the House back to the people, so that more people have a voice there. But I will tell you, I cannot wait for the committees to get started, and what's going to happen, and shake things up. I really do. And so I'm very hopeful, very hopeful. So thank you, everybody. Have a super weekend, and prayers to everybody. Just be safe, healthy, and definitely